Good afternoon. I'm going to go a little deep with this one, but I'm still going to try to keep it short. Even from the channel name, you can see this will be a direct representation of how far do we actually go to truly seek out God, to seek out who and what or it is. So many cultures and so many people have a different interpretation of what God is to them, but we collectively know that by one term, and in most cases, in most languages, God is who we use to describe the creator of the universe, the master of the universe, God Almighty. There's so many names. And in the context, we all understand in our own way. We each understand our language our own way, how we interpret things our own way. But if there is one God that created everything, I would be pretty jealous if somebody was putting that on somebody else. And that goes a little off topic, but so many people ask today, if there is a God, why isn't he doing anything? Well, I beg to differ on that, because we can see certain things, and I'll briefly touch on my perspective of the Big Bang. If there was energy and matter floating around, physics and science tends to point to the fact that energy has to be made, it has to be created, it has to be put into motion. So still, we ask, what came first, the chicken or the egg? If we had the egg and there's nothing to sit on it, it wouldn't grow into a chicken. If it didn't have anything to teach it, it wouldn't know to eat. The mother hen sits on the egg and warms it. Once it hatches, it learns to eat. It learns to be the animal that it is. Back to if there is a God, why doesn't he do anything about what goes on in the world? Well, from the beginning of the creation of man, as it's written, as I understand, by the one comment, I give you all the trees and green things to eat of. You may eat freely. But of this one tree, I command you not to eat of it. Okay? We've been given the ability to use our minds, to think for ourselves. And that, in my opinion, in my interpretation, as literal as it's written that I can read and I can comprehend, that's what got us in trouble in the first place. Because when God said, like a parent says to a child, don't touch, don't do, don't this. Our first reaction, if you think back as a child, is to figure out how to get to what we were told not to mess with. And typically it's not immediately. We figure out how to do it so we don't get caught. Now you can see where that'll go, but I don't want to go too far off track. We are given the ability to freely make our own decisions. Plain and simple. We make our own choices. We say what we want to say. Many times we don't think about what we're going to say until we say it. But back to the point. I'm sorry, I digress. If God exists, what is he doing? Well, first off, in many different languages and many different cultures, we're pretty much given prophecies throughout. The most obvious that I can see is speaking loud and clear. God is speaking loud and clear. Now, if all creation is his, how do we determine that? Well, We can see that the earth's behavior is not really normal compared to what many of us think. Now, of course, with the internet, we can see what's going on. At any point in time now that we normally wouldn't, it would take weeks to get the information out. But between the geological behavior, the unstoppable Iceland volcano that's been erupting, and that they're predicting to continue to erupt, as well as many others. The sun itself, space behavior, the space beyond our atmosphere is not behaving in a way that we are used to, and that is public information. You can pretty much find that on many accounts. There are many things going on, including our sun and its cycle and entering a new cycle, and it's starting to power back up from being at rest. And what that indicates is we're having a lot more solar flares than we're used to, which is definitely messing with cosmic winds and solar radiation getting in through our atmosphere. Human behavior. We can all tell that human behavior is degrading at this point. Spiritual thought. More often than not nowadays, you mention anything related to spirituality, which is rooted in doing good and treating people right in most cases. It gains a negative response, or if you're like I am, I read body language, so I can see the disgust. I can see the distaste. I can see not wanting to hear it. And to me, this follows along with a few other just points that I have here, and this is bringing even the Jewish and Christian and Islamic scriptures to life. I mean, it really is. It explains exactly what starts happening, but you tie all these other things in, and you can see that more of these things that were written throughout all the religious text, if you will, it speaks to those who are looking truly. Because when you read these things and you start seeing them, it really puts into perspective, well, there's got to be something to this. It's more than just coincidence. It's proving the truth, which builds the faith. We see the earthquakes, we see the cosmic signs, we see human behavior. And if you can handle these things and seeing how they relate and understanding where we are in this period of time, then you shouldn't be upset. It should have you bursting with faith and knowing that God is doing something. He's doing a lot. He's keeping His word. And I don't know the verse right offhand, but it says, God is not a man that He should lie. And we all the time break deadlines and promises in our word. That's humanity. He is testing the hearts of humanity. And sadly enough, as we can see, there are many failing this test. And those who are not even involved in these events that cause the testings of the heart, people are so tired of hearing about these things that their hearts have grown cold. And it says, the hearts of many shall wax cold. They shall harden. Our hearts will harden to all these things because we don't realize that it is God doing it for the benefit of the planet. Dividing the truly usable people from the unusable. There are people who will not be able to refine their ways, to wash their robes, to clean their temples, to fix man's programming in their minds. There are too many things that are concreted in belief systems that there's so many that don't want to break free because of the fear of pain from realizing what we've been told, what we've been taught, what we've been preached to have been half-truths and lies. refining the silver and casting off the dross. The ones who want to see the good and want to see the good overcome the evil, and the pure good, not just the ones that want to make things great, because that's what Babylon wanted. They wanted to be the greatest. If you don't believe me, go read it. And casting off and pushing away and dividing and showing the few that care to see, how many really don't want to. And as the times of Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah and the story of the Israelites in the wilderness, there is a piece of history that's been forgotten that people aren't going to realize is here until it's already here. Separating the wise from those who are following down the path of destruction. And that's the ways of the world. And at this point in time, we're all guilty of it. Not one of us is perfect. In one way, shape, or another, we do conform to this world in one way, shape, or another. And this world is full of man's laws that have always oppressed. Because with God's laws, even the simplest 7 that he gave to Noah, and the 7th was to form a court to uphold the first 6. And the first 6 were so simple. There is no need for an additional couple million more laws. 6 basic laws and a court to uphold those is pretty much what you need. He's building trust in the hearts of those that diligently seek him. Because even through all the bad and the horrors and the pain and torment that we see here, if we look close enough, we can see something better on the horizon. But we have to understand that blessing is not going to come until after the hardship. God is allowing pain. As heartless as that may sound, I have to step into the shoes as a dad. And I tell you what, the first time I had to pop the leg of my child, and literally 3 fingers, just a light tap, not even a red mark. It broke my heart to see that look on her face. But she didn't do that again. God administers pain in testing. Because only through the pain that we see can we learn to overcome and not do that to other people. Pain does teach true love. Maybe not, let me take that back. It doesn't per se teach. If we were to look at the pain we see every day, that we feel every day as individuals, I'm no different. I definitely have my pain that I deal with. But I don't ever let it come me, and I don't let it overtake my heart. What I try to do is see the love in the lesson. God is showing us that if we're watching, to continue to be patient, we might be given an idea of how long we're going to have to be patient through the worst of the worst. But there's always a blessing after waiting. God is allowing those who don't want to find him and don't want to look for his plan and don't want to see what he's doing because they can't literally see it with their eyes or hear it with their ears. He's allowing sinners or people who do wrong or people who take advantage of each other or people who gossip about each other or people who treat people bad. He's allowing them to dig their graves. They've been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to change their ways. We've been given a warning. There may be a hijacking of COVID by man, but who can really look at it as a test of faith, as a test of patience, as a time to reflect, as a time to fix ourselves from within. Sure, I can name an executive order that brought forth the entire vaccination outcome. But if we're truly looking for God and we understand how we were created, then we will understand we don't need anything from man to keep us healthy if we were to obey the laws and treat ourselves as we'd treat others. As guilty as I am, we wouldn't pollute ourselves. Cigarettes, alcohol, processed food, excessive greasy red meat, engineered drugs, pharmaceutical. God says that He'll turn man over to their own wicked ways. He'll turn them over to their own lustful desires. Those who want to be something in this world, they might get it, but what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? As I recall, a man was once told while being tempted, "If you bow down and worship me, I'll give you the world." Well, he did get the world, but we never heard if a deal was made. Think about that. And then think about a silent executive order that may have given Bill Gates the world. On that note, all I want to do is provoke thought. I want you to think for yourselves. I want you to seek the scriptures. I want you to look at the world around you. Break the concrete bonds that encapsulate your feet. Break loose of the concreted beliefs and think for yourself, not what somebody else tells you to think or tells you how to think. This is purely my opinion. But every bit of it comes from the heart. It is up to us to change the world, to bring the good out, and to expose the bad for what it is, and stop accepting bad things made good and good things made bad. Man has twisted things up from the beginning. How do you think Eve got? You can't eat of or touch it, meaning the tree. Adam was with her, as it is written. Eve took of the fruit and gave to her husband who was with her. Where does a man stand to seduce a woman? I'll ask again. He stands behind her. Don't be deceived. Because when we do wrong, we are the adversary. Think about that. I'll talk to y'all later.